is going on? Here with Nate to Wait. This is Crossbeats production, and thank you again for tuning in. So I want to go over the gain staging setup so that you can know how to put vocals into a mix and work with the vocals so that they actually sit right in the mix before you get into anything with EQ or compression. I actually posted a video yesterday. I don't know why the video didn't end up uploading correctly for whatever reason. It had an audio issue, so I just want to redo this video so you guys can have the information. So this mix that I've currently got, the mix is it's a rap vocal and also some chorus vocals for a female vocal on that, and it's got a couple of different instruments in it and obviously your drums as well, so it's like a rap kind of beat. And I want to explain kind of the setup that I use when I go through creating the template. Obviously, I don't have too much of a template when I start. I kind of just create it as I go. But obviously, everything's color-coded, as you can see. That's kind of crucial. This is something that you could obviously address at the start before you do anything to do with the mixing. So you go through the color coding, labeling, and all that stuff so you know what's going on inside your project. With that aside, let's get into the actual static mix and the gain staging part of the mix, because that's really crucial to having a good solid mix at the end. Now what I'll do, I'll just quickly play the track as it is, and I'll just show you how I got to this stage, and I'll show you the exact gain staging setup that I use, or the way I did it, so you guys can follow along. So let me turn off all the plugins and just leave this mix tool on at the end. It's just increasing some of the volume by 6 dB, and we've got a level meter and a spectrometer as well. So let's get straight into it. Let's play the mix. Let's go.
Can't get it from no one else, just you and you alone. This identity is mine to own. I won't be so unsure. That is how you see me. I am your masterpiece.
You were created in this image and made by its likeness. Can't you see your value, baby girl? Your worth's priceless. Not a lot of people.
Okay, awesome. So as you can hear, that's just by a static mix. That's no added EQ. There's a little bit of panning happening here. That's about it. But with the static mix, I'm just using all of the instruments I currently have. I haven't used anything else other than that. So you can see I've added some of these plugins here a little bit later on. But let's get into that, and I'm going to show you how I do the static mix right in front of you right now. So we'll just get all of these faders. We'll get the highest level, so that would be the kick. Bring that right down. And we'll start from scratch, and I'm just going to do the whole entire thing. So first off, I'll start with the rap section where most of the instruments come in. Actually, I'll go to this part where the chorus is as well, because I think that's where majority of the instruments sit. So let's just work on what I would go with first. So first I'd start with the prominent instrument, which would be the kick. And I choose these in order of what is most important inside the mix. So let's get straight to that and see how that sounds. All right, cool. So I've got minus 5.7, which is kind of around about minus 12 on this meter here. You can see if I just actually make this a little bit larger, that you'll see where the meters are sitting a little bit more accurately as well. So we'll just go with that. So we've got minus 12 for the kick. That's where I want the kick to sit at this stage. It may change, but for now, this is a static mix. Noting the kick has a lot of low end, which I'm going to deal with that later with an EQ and maybe some compression as well. So let's go to the next thing. I want to start adding vocals. Just before I do that, I want to show you something with the vocal. This vocal here is quite loud, and it already has a fair bit of compression. Well, not a fair bit. It's already had a little bit of compression added to it prior to me actually getting the vocals. So it's actually got some peaks that have kind of just been cut off a little bit because the actual compressor limited that a bit. Just as an FYI, so you guys know. You may get that. You may not have compression already added to vocals. If you don't, obviously you can do that during the mixing stage. So let's go with this vocal, see how that sounds. We'll get actually a section that has it.
It's likeness. Can't you see your value, baby girl? Your worth's priceless. Not a lot of people know it, but she's hurting deep within. Have a hard time trying to.
So that kind of sits up there with the kick, not too loud, not too quiet, just right. The next thing I'll bring in is I'll bring in the female vocal as well, just so I've got that. And
it's likeness.
Go to that part where that actually comes in at.
The identity I find in myself, I can't get it from no one else, just you and you alone.
Nice. Now we'll bring the snare in because I think that's one of the more important parts of this track as well. Let's see what the snare sounds like.
Me something that I can't get. The identity I find in myself. I can't get it from no one else. Just you and you alone.
Nice. Now let's bring in the rest of these vocals. There's 3 parts to these, each of these vocals, so I'll just bring those in as well.
Me something that I can't.
We'll go with the male vocal back to that section.
Girl, your worth's priceless. Not a lot of people know it, but she's hurting deep within. Have a hard time trying to show it. Drown the sorrows in the gin. Father absent.
All right, nice. Next one.
Girl, your worth's priceless. Not a lot of people know it, but she's hurting deep within. Have a hard time trying to show it. Drown the sorrows in the gin.
Cool. So we're just trying to work on what sounds just to fill it up a bit. Obviously, you don't want these. These are just second doubles, not to kind of overwhelm the major part of the vocal. So just keeping that in mind. Next thing with the female vocal, we'll just go back to that part as well.
Gave me something that I can't get. The identity I find in myself. I can't get it from no one else.
Awesome.
Gave me something that I can't get. The identity I find in myself. I can't get it from no one else.
Now we'll go back to the rap. I just want to hear where that sits with the rest of the instruments as well.
Value, baby girl, your worth's priceless. Not a lot of people know it, but she's hurting deep within. Have a hard time trying to show it. Drown the sorrows in the gin. Father absent from the home.
Awesome. Now I can hear a little bit of the kick interfering with that vocal. I'll address that later on because at this stage I'm just gain staging, so I'm not too concerned with that right now. But the main thing is just to take note of things that you hear that are starting to interfere with it. So when you can hear that the kick doesn't sound 100% clear as to when you first brought it in, then you know there's some kind of masking effect happening as well. And then you can address that later on with EQ and compression if needed, and work that way. So let's go with some of the main pad that comes in on this track as well. And we'll add that in for the track.
Value, baby girl, your worth's priceless. Not a lot of people know it, but she's hurting deep within. Have a hard time trying to show it. Drown the sorrows in the gin. Father absent from the home as a young girl growing up. Mama left the struggle. All these strange men showing up. Angered as a child.
And another thing as well, I would recommend on my actual interface, I've got a mono button. So I flicked that to mono on my actual interface. I didn't need to do it on Studio One, but if you don't have that on your interface or your audio interface, I should say, make sure you use the mono button when you're first doing the gain stage, because it really does help to get the gain stage done without having the stereo field interfering with stuff. Just as a little tip.
Value, baby girl, your worth's priceless. Not a lot of people know it, but she's hurting deep within. Have a hard.
Let's check where that actually comes in at. All right, so that's in the chorus section.
Me something that I can't get. The identity I find in myself. I can't.
Awesome. Let's just check where this comes in at. Yeah, we got that there as well.
Me something that I can't get. The identity I find in myself. I can't get it from no one else. Just you.
And I think the clav goes through the whole mix. Yeah, it does. Actually, just note on the clav, you can see there, this peak here actually hits a little bit higher than the rest of the peaks inside of this track. So I need to figure out why that is. If it's something that's required in the track, I'll leave it there, but I might use clipping to get rid of that as well. So let's just go through the clav.
Me something that I can't get. The identity I find in myself. I can't get it from no one else. Just you.
See, as you saw, the peak went really high up. Maybe trouble later on. We'll figure that out very shortly. Let's just go with the synth that we've got, the final synth. That's that one there.
Me something that I can't get. The identity I find in myself. I can't get it from no one else. Just you and you alone. This identity is mine to own. I won't be so unsure. That is how you see me. I am your masterpiece.
Single.
Alrighty. Now let's bring in some of the rest of the kit here. Since the hi-hat's kind of important, I'll bring that in as well. Let's see what that sounds like. I don't want it to be too loud in the mix, so that's why I adjusted it the way I did with the rest of the stuff. So let's go with the hi-hat.
Me something that I can't get. The identity I find in myself. I can't get it from no one.
All right, sounds good. Not too loud, not too quiet. I can just hear it. That's good enough. Let's use the perks on this one.
Me something that I can't get. The identity I find in myself. I can't get it from no.
And the second rim shot.
Me something that I can't get. The identity I find in myself. I can't get it from no one else. Just you and you alone. This identity is mine to own.
Cool. Not too much loudness on that. Don't really need it to be too loud. It just needs to create a bit of rhythm in the track. Bear in mind, these are already panned. I already had panned them, so I just left them the way they are. And you'll kind of understand when you listen to it, obviously, where they are sitting in the mix. But how I decided the panning on that, just so you know, first off, this track was a stereo track when I first got it. I actually changed it to mono, and the way you do that, if you don't know how to do that, is on this section here, this little button that has like 3 or 4 little arrows. You just hit that across to get this space up here, and the information tab is actually the button that brings this little area here that you can flip it to mono or stereo, whatever you want. So that's just a little thing on the track that I kind of obviously just want to let you know about. So let's go back into the mix there. We'll just get to this final parts of the mix. And again, as you can see here, the buses on then for the vocals, so pink and blue, and then the drum bus here. And I'll figure out later on this stuff if I need to put it in a bus. I don't think I do at this stage, but that's being fed right to the mains at this stage. So let's go with the last part of this track. First off, the FX. I just want to see where that actually comes in. I think it's this thing here. That's the toms, and FX is just here. So that's like a riser type of thing. Let's listen to that.
This identity is mine to own.
So it just creates a little bit of rhythm. That's all it really needs to do. And I just have the rest of the instruments playing here as well. So what's the last thing we've got is the rim. Actually, I just wanted to check that snare roll because I adjusted that as well. See how loud that is.
Mine to own. I won't be so unsure. That is how you see me.
Where's the snare roll? Oh, here we go. Okay, we'll just use that section of the track for the snare roll.
Open your heart and let the healing begin, cause you're his masterpiece. Open your heart and let the healing begin, cause you're his masterpiece. Open your heart and let the healing begin, cause you're his masterpiece. Open your heart and let the healing begin, cause open your heart and let the healing begin, cause you're his masterpiece.
Now, all of this is set to how you want it to sound. It's up to you how you want your track to sound. This is how I'm working on it. Let's go with the toms because they kind of add low end to the track. The other thing I just want to bring to your attention as well is just pay attention to this meter throughout the entire kind of gain staging thing. Don't care too much about it, but obviously try not to overload it. That's what your game is. I try and go from -6 to where I go my gain staging. So let's go with the toms.
Open your heart and let the healing begin, cause you're his masterpiece. Open your heart and let the healing begin, cause you're his masterpiece.
Awesome. Now, final thing, low end. This is going to interfere with the kick. As you'll see on this spectrometer when I bring it in, the kick's going to be obviously interfering with that low end bass. And I'll just show you what I'm talking about. Let's just bring the kick in. So you can see that kick kind of covers a lot of the area of this mix. And the bass is obviously going to do a lot of that too. So let's just bring the bass up. So you can see they're both kind of in the same kind of area. So let's just work with what we've got in a full mix. I don't want to listen to it solo because I want to know what it sounds like in the entire mix. So let's bring that up with the kick in line as well.
Open your heart and let the healing begin, cause you're his masterpiece.
Me something that I can't get. The identity I find in myself. I can't get it from no one else. Just you and you alone. This identity is mine to own.
All right, awesome. So as you can see on the meter here, the kick was the only thing that really is peaking a lot. And that's something I'll address later on in this mix with EQ. As you can see, I've got EQ already on it. And this is the kind of EQ curve that I was talking about that I'll address it with. But later on, we'll talk about that and why I did that. I just wanted to cover the first part, which is the gain staging, so you guys know how to set your vocals inside the mix. Now, you could do it different ways to this as well. You could obviously address all of the instruments first and then go to your vocals and do them last. That's a method I also have done in the past, and then just kind of mix around stuff to make it sit. But in my opinion, I think it's worthwhile to get the first part of the instrument that you find the most crucial in the mix, grab that, do that first, and then, you know, put your vocals up in line with that if that's where you want them to sit in the mix. It really depends on the kind of effects you're going for. But this is the basic gain staging to a mix, and this is what I would do on a general basis to get everything sitting right. So as you can kind of tell, it kind of all sounds together now. It's not perfect, but that's the general gain stage. You can adjust volumes later on. This is just a basic gain stage to get things set out right. So hope you guys like this video. I'll catch you on the next one, and peace out.